In this tutorial, we'll see how to use Jinja2 templates for configuration generation. Jinja2 is Python's templating library. It is commonly used for generating HTML files in web frameworks like Flask or Django. In our networking use cases, we can use this for generating configuration lines, and it is not necessary to use Jinja2. Still, for single line basic configuration generation, we can use Python string formatting itself. Like we have learned earlier, we can use a formatted string and pass the variables, and this will be helpful for multi-line configuration generations where you need to apply multiple logics. So here in this example, I'll start with a very basic demo of generating a single line config, and then we'll look into how to use if conditions or for loop, and how to render a template, and how to create a configurations from a list or dictionaries. And for running a Jinja2, you need a template and data. Using those informations, Jinja2 will render and return final data. So let's start writing the script. First, we need to install Jinja2. We need to go to settings, Python interpreter, and we need to search for Jinja2 and install the package. Once you do that, you can import Jinja2, and for running Jinja2 you need a template and data. First, I will add the data here. I will put 3 dictionaries here, and we will try to generate the configuration lines using this particular dictionary. And first I will create the template data in a string format, and then we will render the template. And I'm going to create IP route, and for each IP route I'll be taking the individual destination subnet. To add the variable, we need to give it in double bracket, and then we can give destination subnet, and then space 255.0, and then we'll give destination gateway. And now this is a normal string, and we need to create a template object. To create a template object, I'll give T1. We can give any name here, and then Jinja2 dot template, and I can give this particular data. And now if you try checking type of T1, so this is a Jinja2 template. So this is a compiled template. You can see the documentation. I'll press Ctrl B, and here we should be able to see the documentation. So this is a compiled template, and now we can render this. So let me just print the output T1 dot render, and now I can pass these variables. So I'll give router 1. If I try running this, so here we are getting the configuration data. I'll comment the type. Yeah, now if you want configuration for these 3 routes, you can just give route 2 and 3, and now this template is returning the data. This is a very basic example of how to use Jinja2 template. Now if you want to read it from a file, what we can do is I'll create a file here. I will call this static route dot J2, and this is the extension for template, and I can paste the content here. Now instead of giving this as a string, I can read the file. I'll use with open and static route dot J2 as file, and here I will call config equal to and file dot read. So now let us try running this. Still we are getting same output. So here now the configuration generation logic we kept out of our Python script. Now we'll see how to use for loop. I will comment all our previous script, and here I'll add for loop, and I will paste a list and dictionary here. So what we'll do here, for each line we will take the IP from this list. So we need to iterate through each element in this list. So let us start writing the template here. I will call config equal to, and instead of writing into a file here, first I'll use a multi-line string. To do the for loop, we need to open the bracket, then a percentage symbol, hyphen, and then 4. So here we are going to get the destination subnet, and here we have a list. To iterate through that, I'll create a variable destination sub, and for destination sub, in destination subs. So this will add this particular key into the for loop, and then we need to close this statement. So I'll close the bracket. Then we can copy paste the previous logic here. So here also we were using destination sub, and after that we need to close the for loop. To close the for loop, we need to open a bracket, percentage, hyphen, and then we need to give end for, and then percentage, closing bracket. And now we have a template with for loop, and this can generate route for each destination subnet. So let me create a template here, Jinja2 dot template, and here I can give config. We'll do a print of t1 dot render, and we can give route 1 here. Let us try running this script. So here we are getting the output. If you want to put this into a file, I can create a file here, static route with for loop dot J2, and I can put the content here, and instead of this, now I can open the file with open and static route with for loop as data and config equal to data dot read, and we can run this again and we are getting same output. Now we'll see how to use if else condition. I'll put if here, and to demonstrate that I'll put to list and dictionaries, and based on this condition we will generate the configuration. For that I'll create a file here, static route if I'll give the extension also, and here we will write the condition. So we'll open the bracket, percentage, hyphen, and the same logic whatever we have written earlier for destination subnet in destination subs, and then we need to close the bracket. Then we'll add the route, IP route, destination subnet, and this data will be getting from this for loop. 255 will give destination gateway, and then we will end the for loop n4, then we'll write a if condition. For writing if condition, we need to open the bracket again, hyphen, and if add underscore default, then percentage and open bracket. That means here if add default is true, then we will add the default route. Then we will add a default route command, and then we need to end the if condition. I'll give a hyphen and end if, then percentage and closing bracket. And now we'll go back to the Python script, and first we will create a compiled template. With open, and the file name is static route if as data, and config equal to data dot read, then t1 equal to jinja2 dot template, and we will add this config, and first we will try to render it for this particular data, route 1. Route 1 is referring to this particular destination subnet list. Do a print t1 dot render, and I'll give route 1, and in route 1 you can see add default is true, so this should even add the default route in the output. So let us run this. Here you can see this is even adding the default route, and it is iterating through each of these elements and creating configuration. So 21, 22 and 23. And if I render this for another dictionary, route 2, that is referring to destination subnet 2, and here you can see add default is false. And if you see this condition, this will not match, and this will not be adding this particular default route into the output. So let us try running this. So for route 2, I'm getting only these static routes. I'm not getting default route because here it is false. If I change this to true, I'll be getting the complete route details. Now we'll see how to access dictionary data. I will comment this section and I will add a note here. And here I'll paste a dictionary. And we will try to create a configuration from this data. So we will configure the interface with the dictionary key and IP address with the value. So let us create a configuration here itself. So I will call this config equal to, and I'll add a multi-line string here. Either you can write it into a file or you can put it in the same script with multi-line string. First we need to open bracket and percentage hyphen for interface and IP. We need to put here the key is interfaces dot items. It is same like Python dictionary iteration. Then I need to close the bracket here. Now we will start adding the configurations. The first line is going to be interface, and then here in double bracket, here when we iterate using for loop, in the interface variable we'll be getting the key, and in the IP variable we'll be getting the IP of the respective interface. So here I'll give interface, then after two spaces I'll add IP address, and in the double bracket I'll give IP space 0, and then I'll add a description. So this will be helpful for you to generate multi-line configurations. Here also I'll give the same variable interface description, and then we need to end the for loop. Here we have started a for loop, so we will end that here. For that I need to give open bracket percentage hyphen n4 percentage closing bracket. And now we can compile this particular string as a template. I'll use again t1 equal to jinja2 dot template and config will do a print of t1 dot render, and we can pass this particular dictionary. So I'll give interface dictionary and we'll try running this. So here you can see I am getting the configuration for all these interfaces using Jinja2 template. And if I want to add additional interface, we can just copy paste and I'll give IP and we can try running this. Now I'm getting even the IP for this interface. So this will be helpful for you to generate multi-line configurations. Now we'll see how to access list of dictionaries. I'll comment the previous logic and add a note here, list of dictionaries, and I'll paste a dictionary here, and here you can see I have multiple dictionaries inside a list, and we can write a for loop for that within our template. So I'll create a variable here, config and multi-line string, and first we need to write a for loop. So for interface in interface list, so in each iteration the dictionary is going to be an interface. After that we can access each element using the key, and here I'll put interface space and double bracket interface, and within that I will try to access the name. To configure the interface, first I'll access name, then I'll add 2 spaces and then description, connected to, and then I'll give the server details. For that I can copy this, paste it and change this to server, and then I'll add switch port mode access, and we have VLAN here, switch port VLAN. I'll copy and paste it and change the key to VLAN, and then we need to close the for loop. So let us just compile a template, t1 equal to jinja2 dot template and config print t1 dot render and I'll give this data. So let us try running this. So here this is generating multi-line configuration for each interface. But if you're using formatted string, it is difficult to handle multiple logics inside that and all these spacings. But here this is generating in a way how we have defined this template. And if you want to add additional interfaces, you can just add additional dictionary here and it will automatically generate the template. And you can put this into a external file and access it. So these are some examples of how to use Jinja2 template for generating configuration.